I have no idea how good of justice it does. Like, I sometimes tell people that it is, an art festival where you can go around and see, art installations that are all outdoors, but they're, colossal and, of a scale that is much larger than you can comprehend. And the liberal use of flame effect, perhaps aimed directly at you, is, potentially part of this, which is fun if you're a pyro. And there's, dance parties that exaggerate past whatever you imagine the coolest club looks like. Like, there's definitely like a setup out there that looks much cooler than that you too can be a part of. And, basically it's the middle of the desert, so there's nothing there. And then 70,000 people all show up, but every one of them has thought, now what if I could bring blank that would make this the coolest party ever? That first year, one of the neat things that I found was some guy who lived on like a watermelon farm. And so he had brought 2,000 pounds of watermelon in a truck. Wow. He made a little stand. It was about the size of this little studio. That was like a big fruit stand. And he's playing funk music and cutting up watermelon and handing it out on the hot day. And like hanging out there was great.
Wow. That's like there is such tremendous mind-blowing effort put out in the art out there. The creativity is unbelievable. But like the simple gift of watermelon in the hot goddamn desert.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
It is top tier.
I mean, most of the greatest triumphs there I think of as logistical triumphs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, and that also goes for the art. Like, remember the space whale?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How could you not? How the fuck do you get like 2,000 pounds of stained glass out there intact? Like, it has to go down like a dirt bumpy road for like 10 miles to get to that point.
It's a logistical hurdle, and they're still coming from like the closest city that you can possibly come from.
Mm-hmm.
The silly art that I want to bring out would be a printer that would like print out some pages of stuff, and it would immediately fall into a paper shredder.
Yeah.
The problem is that this would become a Moop nightmare because it would just be releasing paper confetti all over the place. And I don't think I could make it in a way that it would be appropriately contained.
Yeah, I think you can't have a crosscut shredder. You need to have a line shredder.
Even the ribbon,
But yeah, even that's going to create a bunch of dust.
it's going to be a thing.
Today on Accuracy Third, I'm D-Day.
I'm Beth.
I'm Rex, and I'm the best thing about recording with us.
I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah.
You're...
No, I know the audience.
You do really tie the group together. What a moderating influence you are sometimes.
I like to think that each of us ties this group together.
That's how triads work. Triads, not just for weird
Not always a
romance
sex thing.
anymore.
So today on the podcast, we have an honest-to-goodness artist ranger.
A artist? It's not going to work. It's not going anywhere.
A rangist.
Abort. No, that's not good either.
A range art?
Punch out.
Range art.
Punch out.
Range art, firefly.
Range art.
Range art.
Yeah, that's better than rangist.
Sure is.
None of them are good.
So I was pleasantly surprised when we invited Firefly into the studio to find out that an old friend of mine I met right as he began his going to Burning Man career had gone from the generic sort of scumbag that we all start off as to being a veteran ranger who is also taking on the extra role of making a big art out there on Playa this year.
Well, that's rad. I love the stories of generic scumbags becoming like really good members of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we have to have space for scumbags in our culture, partially because I'm attracted to scumbags and partially because like, how do you...
Well, let's roll that back. Like, Firefly is not a scumbag like we're scumbags.
Well, not
like,
anymore.
I think he's less scummy than we are. But he was a dirtier hippie than he is today.
I mean, everyone needs a dash of scumbag. If you are going out to play and have not found your dash of scumbag, I invite you to look for it because we all need it. I think scumbag is like one of the like...
terms of endearment.
Yes.
Primary feeder cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, feeder culture.
Yeah.
You know, like art cars,
Yeah.
ravers, scumbags.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gutter punks, scumbags.
I mean, scumbags...
San Francisco artists, mostly scumbags. all music promoters, scumbags.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to electronica, you're touching a bunch of scumbags.
DJs,
DJ scumbag.
85% scumbags. 15% of DJs are rich airheads.
Bet a lot of them are sex creeps.
Oh, yeah, but those aren't scumbags. Those are fucking monsters.
I think scumbags are an inherently important part. And I love a great reformed scumbag. Like, then you get the dash of scumbag, but you're like fully functional and trustworthy to have around other people.
The thing about interviewing all of these scumbags who fall in love with Burning Man is I keep having like deep formational powerful experiences that I've had on Playa repeated to me out of somebody else's mouth. I'm like, fuck, I'm a very generic scumbag, aren't I?
Oh, I thought you were accusing me of copying another one of your stories, and I was going to point out how rude that is, but I see I've just outed myself. So game, set, and match.
You've actually been pretty good at not copying my stories, probably because I'm usually here with you.
Well, I'm also much groansier than I used to be, and like in general and specific, a lot more soberer. That said, Beth, question pointed at you because Rex was here for the interview. What are your favorite, if any, of the text-based arts out there?
Text-based.
Big signs. Love.
Love is
Heart.
believe is also difficult.
It doesn't have to be one of those.
Which one?
Text-based
There was
arts.
one that I think that was
There
maybe
are
it was
lots
called
of things that are.
perspective that had you had to line up with it.
Are you thinking of the ones that were like kids' blocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were cool as fuck.
That one was pretty.
Because I think that one had multiple different ways to read it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could go at it, but you had to find the right angle on all of them. Yeah, that was an early one that I thought was really neat. So, to be completely honest with you, my sensation of the word signs is, oh, well, that's lazy. I mean, it took a lot of work to make it, like a lot of work to make it and bring it out there. But why? Like, love, believe, man.
It's inherent postcardery. You want to make a beautiful vista look like a postcard? Big word.
It's Hallmarkism.
Yeah. But there's been a lot of word signs out there that I think are quite funny and clever that are not just big word. You know, like free mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise is a good hot dumps.
Yeah. Hot dumps is attached to other stuff, so I don't know
Still.
if that counts.
You wouldn't know it's hot dumps unless it said it's hot dumps.
How about Disorient?
Disorient is fucking great.
The classic.
Yeah. Disorient's wonderful. I feel like there's a bunch of wrong way signs on Playa,
I'm sure.
like that I just appreciate.
My favorite of the Burning Man art signs is from a long, long time ago. Gate got themselves like one of those dot matrix, like highway road signs. And each night, in one way or another, it would be calling out to the moths that were swarming around it.
Do you remember? So this one actually was very effective. The series of signs with death totals.
I was deliberately not mentioning that.
It was really interesting. It was telling people who died while we were on Playa in very different genres and in different realms.
I like blockbusters, but I also really enjoy genre deaths.
And it was like spookily impactful. But that was a good word sign. That one stuck with me for that entire burn.
I was impressed with the description of Firefly's sign. It is a very good participatory sign, which you don't usually get out there. Delighted by his idea, which we will hear about now.
Oh, yay. I haven't heard this yet. This is going to be exciting.
Catch you on the other side.
Damn it. Ouch. So, Mr. Firefly, welcome to Accuracy Third. Thanks for coming into the studio today.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So first easy question. How did you get the playa name Firefly?
The unfortunate answer is that I picked it myself. The slightly longer answer is I joined the Rangers. This will be my 10th year rangering, and when you join them, they're like, "Okay, what do you want your handle to be?" And I proffered suggestion after suggestion. They're like, taken. Sounds too similar to something else. And when they got to the 25th one down my list, I was like, "How about Firefly?" And they're like, "Ooh, that's open. Fine, it's yours." So
nice.
Here we
Okay,
are.
that's legit.
Yeah, Ranger handles get a free pass on the self-naming. I had to get one of those myself. You're kind of stuck if you're not already playa named. Or if your playa name doesn't fit, if it's got no hard consonants.
Gerald. Ranger
What's the-
Gerald.
Gerald would work. The D is enough.
What is your Ranger handle?
It is defunct. I have not rangered in a long time.
Ranger Defunct would be a good one.
Yeah, it would, right?
Good. Oh my God. Now I need to sign up again, get a shift.
Just so you can use it.
Yeah.
Might be taken. Everything good's been done out there.
Everything good's been done. It's all taken.
That's not true. I still meet new Rangers, and I'm like, shit, that was open. There's a lot of creativity out there.
I sometimes run into Rangers and they're like, "I'm Ranger so-and-so." I'm like, "No, you're not. I rangered with Ranger so-and-so 15 years ago."
Oh.
So, rangering, huh? Mm-hmm. How'd you fall into that khaki trap?
Couple sort of different directions on this. Number one is that I'm unoriginal at costuming, and so I was walking around in a wide brimmed hat and a utility kilt, and people kept asking me where the porta potties were, and eventually I was like, I should get credit for this.
Rangers are dressed, not made.
Yeah.
Okay, so listeners, you cannot see how my face just fell because
Rex is a Kiltian too.
legit, you told my story. That is how I became. I had a khaki utility kilt. I had a khaki boonie cap that I got from the Portland Power Utility and had stitched a Mr. Natural patch onto. And I was walking around picking up Moop. And a pack of Rangers came up from behind me and said, "Are you a Ranger?" And I said, "No." And they're like, "Well, next year you are." And you've been at it for a while now, so you must dig it.
I do. I keep coming back to do it. It's how I fill a shocking percentage of my waking hours out there at this point.
It does eat up a lot of your week.
It doesn't eat you up so much as it draws you in. And yeah.
All right.
no,
Fair.
This morning I was like, yeah, I can sign up for 2 shifts in a row on Saturday. That makes a ton of sense.
I won't have fun on Saturday otherwise.
Is that the shift before and then the shift of burn, or the shift of burn and then the graveyard after?
Before and during.
You're going to have fun on that perimeter on hour 10.
I mean, all you got to do is, sit there with a bunch of people who are having a great time. No big.
Do you just do Dirt Ranger shifts?
No, I do a bunch of different things. I actually spend a fair amount of my time sitting at a keyboard transcribing things as they come in over the radio so that we have records of where everybody is and what happened.
Interesting.
Yeah. This has been developed into a larger team that we call the operators. And it's fun. You get to jam out with a headset and do the weird thing where you can have 2 radios talking into your brain at the same time and somehow it all makes sense. And that's a unique feeling that I can't get anywhere else. And I keep signing up to do more of it.
I totally get that because I don't really miss the active rangering too much. But I do kind of miss that feeling like I had my finger on the pulse of the city at all times.
The dulcet tones of Radio Free Khaki.
Oh, did I know the name of every missing child? So let's rewind all the way. How did you get to Burning Man in the first place?
I had a bunch of friends who basically informed me when I moved first to San Francisco in late 2008, early 2009, that I was going to Burning Man with them.
That's how it happens.
I felt right at home and had a great time, and have been sort of, it's not even a question, are you going to Burning Man? It's okay, what are we going to move around? Because I have Burning Man that week, at this point.
How am I going to convince a job that I'm just going to disappear for the better part of 2 weeks or a month or something?
It's usually part of the interview process for me.
I probably take other vacations less than I should. I actually went to Belize last summer for a summer beach vacation because I wasn't going to Burning Man, and it's I can take a different vacation in August. Huh.
I was thinking
What
of
should I
doing
do with
that
this?
over the past couple of years, but the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a substantially different world to what you drudge through all the time, and that is incredibly refreshing. Even if you're on vacation in Hawaii at some resort, you're still ensconced in how America operates and everything. And this is just totally different. And across the street from our camp, there were a bunch of young ladies who were spending all day dressed in bathing suits and giving manicures to people who came by. And then a tent stake would come up and one of them would just put on a bunch of leather gloves and sledgehammer the hell out of it and then go back to having drinks and doing manicures. And then some 80-year-old dude drives by on a Segway with nothing but what God gave him, hanging out. And I'm just this is just too much of a trip to not continue. I like the danger too. I remember walking down some street and some guy's got this big tower next to his camp, and he's climb up to the top. There's a great view up here. And I'm oh, okay. And I just sort of reflexively follow the instructions, and I'm climbing this ladder, and I get up to the top of this truss system that, it's the scaffolding that painters have or whatever. That's 3 stories tall. And it is in fact a good view from up there. And then I get down this rickety wooden ladder, and my friend who I was walking down the street with was at the bottom, and he just has this bug-eyed look on his face. And he's you just climbed that. And I'm well, yeah, the guy invited me to climb it. And then I actually looked back at this thing and properly regarded it with an engineer's eye. And I'm that is gonna fall over in the next strong breeze. Holy shit. You actually have to think about this stuff.
Yeah, I am so immune to following people's directions to climb things or go down things at Burning Man.
And I am so completely blasé about the outcome of my behavior at Burning Man. We climbed up something in 2019 that was
it was held together with structural pipe clamps.
And it was a 3-story
And it was made
stack of
and it was mostly made out of conduit, holding up trampolines. And 3 of these motherfuckers not only climbed up it, but started jumping on it.
Yeah. How are you not going to jump on a 3rd-story trampoline? Just because it's held together with structural guidance.
One of the skills you get as a ranger is the eye for the dangerous thing. There's one art every year, and I'll just be biking past it. I'm oh, that's the one.
Oh my God.
That's going to be the one this year. And I'm usually right, unfortunately.
What was your guess for 2019?
The spike with the cars on it.
God, that was 2019.
Wasn't it?
No, it was 2018.
I don't know.
Oh.
But yeah, that's a standout.
I'm kind of surprised at how few people injured themselves on that, but it also got closed on Tuesday. So.
Yeah, I haven't mentioned the drop zone in a while. Do you remember the drop zone?
You talking about the geodesic dome with the porta pit in the middle?
I don't know what a porta pit is.
It's a 5-foot deep tumbling cushion.
Oh, the crash pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first year. Yeah, just an empty dome with a crash pad mattress thing in the middle of it.
Yeah, I saw someone let go and drop, and my heart jumped up into my throat because I thought there wasn't a pad there and they really hurt themselves. And then as I biked closer, I realized there is a crash pad there, and that person, had they hit that crash pad, would have been perfectly fine, but they hadn't. Oh. And my original instinct of oh my God, what the fuck, was very right.
How do you miss that? It's 8-foot square and it's directly below you.
Yeah, well, if you climb all the way up to the top, if you don't fling your body in a stupid direction on the way down, I don't know.
I guess people are drunk.
Sure. And climbing shit. And someone was hey, climb this. And they were I can.
I'm kind of disappointed now that I didn't go on that thing when I saw it. I have a bunch of great pictures of people in midair on it.
I remember also like the Thunderdome is meant for climbing, and the bars are pretty close together. So even if you are not like a climbing athlete, like you can make your way basically all over the top. I remember this one, like the triangles were giant. So like,
Yeah, they had to be so that you could drop between them.
oh, that makes sense. But at the same time, I remember getting, some amount of feet off the ground and being like, okay, this is plenty.
Yeah. That's how I always feel. Like I am now well over 6 feet above the ground.
That's the limit.
Yeah,
right here.
I'm a ground guy. I just am. Love the ground.
Some
Great.
DPW folks invited me up a scissor lift once. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actual
views.
equipment. It's got gates around you. Like,
It still kind of has a bit of
safety.
sway to it at like 40 feet up or whatever it gets to. Incredible view, but also
it's intense. Yeah. Your balls will pull right up it.
But it's designed to do that.
I couldn't do work up
Go out
there.
under you.
I wouldn't. No, I can stand there and stare at the city and be like vaguely nervous and ready to go down, but I'm not going to mention it, but I'm ready to go down. I've seen the city before. This is the
Are
city.
you telling me you wouldn't like strap a harness on and lean one-footed over the side to tighten a bolt as it swayed under you?
I could. I don't want to, and I hope that never comes up. I'd rather be in a submarine.
I will be the life and the death of this body.
I like going around in the evening and looking at art, and during the day I look for opportunities to just kind of fall into. Like this one time a couple years ago, we were walking down the street. I think, you pick some goal from the what, where, when. Like, we're going to go to such and such address, and they're going to have popsicles there. So like, great. And as you get towards there, you may or may not ever get the popsicle, but something interesting will have captured you along the way. And I remember like standing in line for a popsicle or some shit like that. And some guy comes out from a camp across the street and says, "We want to give you an electric shock with a shock collar and take your picture in slow motion. You should come over to." And I was like, "I'm getting a popsicle in like 3 minutes, but I'm there." They had like a shock collar like for dogs or whatever, and they'd hitch it on you, and they had rigged up this system that would simultaneously deliver the shock and there's like a camera on a tripod like
God
aimed
damn
at
it.
you.
Like, that's the one thing I would do
Right?
in terms of getting shocked. I fucking hate getting shocked.
We've
but
camped
that's
across
awesome.
from shots for shocks a number of times. And like,
Oh, we have?
Yeah.
Sounds terrible.
I have taken their advantage of their service once, and that's it's not a trade-off I care to make again. And like some of our campmates were just like teasing each other with an electric dog collar, and I wouldn't want any part of that. But slow-mo video, I'm probably in. I'll take that hit for that product.
And it's fun because, in real time, you're just like, whoa, okay. And that's the end of it. But then you get this video where you're like, whoa. And your face distorts in like 9 different ways that you didn't even realize it would do in that
Micro
half second of a second. And, I probably wouldn't seek that adventure out specifically, but the
Right.
fact that it just sort of fell into my lap meant that I had to do it, right? And I mean, I think my second burn kind of sucked in large part because I had this idea of how my first burn went and therefore what constitutes like a complete meal of a burn. And so
Right.
I should do these things and, find them and they'll all happen and it'll be great again. And then none of that happened, and everything that did happened all out of order and, upside down. And
What kind of things were you trying to recreate from your first burn?
having some great night dancing with all my friends at Opulent Temple, and then, go and see this other fantastic large art sculpture that, is made of some, particular experience, right? And, hang out with these friends on this day, and then I'll, see this other group of friends at that other camp on this other day. And of course, like all the different friends were not in their camps at any particular time that I could find them. And so, I spent more time by myself than I had planned to, and I didn't.
So it wasn't even necessarily the specificity of trying to recreate your first year. It was the fact that you were trying to force your burn to happen
Yeah.
in a specific way.
Like having any kind of checklist whatsoever for like the correct like things to go on this week is just a recipe for having like an uncrossed off checklist.
Yeah.
Going dancing at Opulent Temple, that's pretty achievable, assuming you like what's playing. But
It's evolved over the years. We don't have to go into a year by year breakdown. Anyway, yeah. So like my second burn, I had this like plan of general like parameters for how it should happen, and none of the parameters were satisfied, and that led to a lot of disappointment. And so in subsequent years, it's mostly just like I don't know what's happening. I'm just gonna let it roll. Like the best years are the years when I can get a friend who has not gone before to come with me.
Oh, yeah.
Because they can't have any preconceived notions of what should happen to them at any point in time, and that lets you re-experience the spontaneity of it, even if you've become somewhat jaded.
vicarious de-virginization.
Yeah.
Was that second year your Burning Man low point, or have you had some challenging years?
I mean, I think that was probably the lowest point, but it's not like every year has been a rainbow. I mean, like, you bring in what you bring in, and there have been years when I've had friendship drama or relationship drama or work drama or whatever, like surrounding me that like sort of wound up also getting packed into the bin with all of the useful things, and still sort of find yourself sitting in the middle of the empty playa in the afternoon, like hating the world and angrily smoking cigarettes and not solving your problem, but at least you're doing it in a place that has a nice sunset. But that means that there have been years that have been harder to give a fuck or harder to just let loose and have a good time, and other years the things line up correctly and I have a blast.
Has there ever been a year where you felt like maybe you were losing the magic, or has it been sustained for you?
Mostly sustained. I mean, like, you get jaded about some things, but I mean, every year there's definitely at least, one big piece of art that makes me go like, holy shit, how does anybody not thought of that before? It's perfect. And, also at the same time incomprehensible if you try to describe it to somebody outside.
There's a piece of art that we saw like right before sunrise after a long playa trompe that I still am not convinced exists. It was like an obelisk that was emitting a vapor that formed like a solid line of cloud that stretched for dozens of yards. It was baffling. It made no sense.
The Temple of Jewel.
Still can't comprehend it. Listeners, if you know what the hell I hallucinated, email me.
Email us at accuracythird@gmail.com.
No, you email me at alexjoneswasright at alexjonesforever.infowars.net.
First, they came from the Alex Joneses, and I was not him, so I did not give a shit. And then, like, everything was fine after that, turns out.
Not give a shit.
better.
I'd have a party.
Yeah, it was good, actually. We all had a great time.
This is an Alex Jones anti-stan podcast. What is the opposite of a stan?
I'm sure there's a word in like Japanese like anime fandom that properly encapsulates this, but I don't know it.
A notaku.
Wow. Okay. Coined. Sold.com.
I'm not comfortable with that.
The performance art that I thought was the best was a piece called Ein Hammer, which this must have been 10 years ago. The art piece was like a 50-foot tall like sledgehammer. Mm-hmm. And the thing that they have at the carnival game where like you take a sledgehammer and you pound a little thingy on the ground and the bell like
Test your strengths.
Exactly. You'd hit you'd hit that thing with a big sledgehammer they gave you, and instead of like a little like bell going up, this gigantic sledgehammer had like poofers coming out the side, and like the flames would go up the appropriate height, and if you hit it all the way, then like the top of this thing like spins around and like shoots jets of fire out.
Yes.
Except that before you get to this point, before you're allowed to actually swing the hammer, there were these guys who had this I don't know if they were all actually German or if this was merely just part of like the shtick. But this man would give this long speech about the workers and the strengths of the workers. And they'd go through this whole speech, and then you'd hit the thing, and like if the flame FX skull at the top, these like young women dressed as like the St. Pauli girl would like do this big dance and stuff. And man, they did it all fucking week. And like the thing that I just found most impressive was just the commitment that like the energy on burn night was the same as the energy on like Monday night. And they were just there to do that and just absorb themselves into the flow of workers' liberation.
I love interactive performance pieces out there. I got alien surgery at one point.
So do you have like an antenna up your butt?
If I do, it hasn't expressed itself recently.
You have to express it, dude.
What?
Yeah.
Gross,
You need to
dude.
get a paper towel and everything.
I saw Inside the God Box, which was pretty fun.
The Talk to God phone booth thing?
No, I've done that too, and that thing is fantastic.
Like the reflective cube?
No, you're talking about the world's worst carnival ride?
Yes.
Get in this cube and let us continue.
No. You wait in a line
you around,
to get
son.
into this cube.
Don't worry, it's hard in there. It's on bungees.
Here's some blinkies.
Oh, God.
Like everybody's done it as if like that's our 3-card Monty that we've got at Burning Man. They're just right there on Esplanade running a con.
That's our man eating chicken. No, it's a great show. You got to go in. You'll love it. No, the God Box was a camp that had like a 3-stage performative induction where they prepared you to go and have your encounter with the God Box, and they told you about all the potential changes of the God Box and like the history of the God Box, and it was all, decored out, and these people were dressed in cult gear, and it was very authentically culty, and you proceed through their mystery initiation, and they lead you into your tiny little space and what's in there. And it's been a while, so my details might be slightly off, but I think it was a mailbox, and you open the mailbox, and inside the mailbox, and they've been telling you that, in this box is God. You open the mailbox, and in the mailbox is like a tiny little smiling frog holding a mirror.
Very twee.
Real twee, real on the nose, but the performance, the amount that they sold it, just made it. It made that twee little like, "Hey, you're God, boo" thing just hit. It hit.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Mm-hmm. You got a favorite art piece?
Like of all time? Mm-hmm. Oh, shit.
We ask the hard hit.
Yeah, or of like, last week. Doesn't even have to be about Burning Man. Like, you see a picture you liked?
I mean, Burning Man art that I liked from like 2 to 3 burns ago, it's fuzzy, was the Mongolian warrior.
Oh, yeah.
And I liked it because it was so not what's usually there. Like most stuff there is like, we took a ton of steel and, made this crazy welded contraption, or like, look how many blinking lights we can irresponsibly power off one generator, or like, look how much fire we can aim around. And this thing was just this big, solemn, majestic, 40 feet tall and looks 1,000 years old. And I just looked at it and I'm like, wow, okay. That's got some real like depth to it.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I also love the things that have LED flashing all over them.
I often find out years after the fact that like the LEDs are flashing because of some really impressive interaction with the environment or with people. But like most of the time, just like, oh yeah, you balance 2 cones on top of each other and there's LEDs on them. Cool, guys. That's fucking art.
So I've been doing this project this summer to bring.
Ooh.
And the thing that I have come to have so much appreciation for, which is going to make me appreciate every other piece of art out there like 10 times more, is how much crap I've had to do that nobody will ever see.
Oh, yeah.
Like the nights of just crimping a million tiny cables to like shove into a connector, and, there's soldering all these things together that are going to go in a box that then goes in another box in hopes that the ply dust does not like corrode all the solder away within a week.
It might.
I brought spares. Like, it's fine.
Heat shrink does amazing work.
There's a lot of that in there too.
Yeah.
You have to do all this stuff, and like, because it's art, I'm like, I want this to look neat and like elegant as well inside this like little engineering puzzle. And then nobody's going to see it. Like if everything goes to plan and it doesn't like blow itself apart in a dust storm, it will all stay contained in its box within a box, and nobody will ever know how neat the circuitry is.
And what does your box within a box with all that circuitry power?
It powers it's going to be a sign. It's going to be about 10 feet tall. This is a relatively small project by Burning.
10 feet off the ground, or the sign itself is going to be?
The sign itself is a plywood, so 8 by 4, the top of which is elevated 10 feet off the ground, which has a bunch of LED neon sign-like words. And the different words that are on there can be lit up in different combinations to express a number of different sentences. But the core sentence will say, "You do not have to like all the art."
It's very good.
Oh, I like that a bunch.
I saw this, like, I was in the Tate Modern in London, and before you enter one gallery of like modern art or whatever, there's like, it's not like a poster, but you know how the decal that's on the wall in the museum, like explaining to you how to appreciate, you know, modern art, because it's like the collection is all this stuff that's like, here's a big red square, and it has this like, you know, paragraphs of like, you know, it's about a mood or whatever, and you don't have to take it all literally, and then it says in the middle of this thing, you do not have to like all the art. And I thought that sentence on the wall in like an impressive museum was fucking hysterical. Surely the museum is bringing the best art together. That's like the purpose of a big art museum. And it's like, you don't have to like it.
Art isn't necessarily for
Yeah,
like
it just has to affect you.
Or even that, like I mean, the other, like, there's several ways you can read into this, right? Like, some of it is not for being liked. Some art is there to make you mad, but also like some art just might not be for you. Like it might just be directed at an entirely different population, and like that's also okay. Like it doesn't have to fit your conception of
As someone who makes some very unpleasant art, I had to learn that young.
I'm especially appreciative of that because with this year's theme, so much is focused on the surrealist movement.
God, what is this year's theme?
waking
Waking
dreams.
Okay.
Like the streets all have surrealist names, and because there's not enough streets, my man Magritte got short shrift. There's no M, there's certainly no R. And y'all may not be familiar with it, but there's a famous Magritte painting of a smoking pipe with the phrase "Ce n'est pas un pipe" under, which is "this is not a pipe."
Yeah, it's the apple in front.
That is his. The man with the apple over his face and the bowler hat is his,
Oh, it's beautiful.
leitmotif. But the painting is really impactful because of the many, many ways you can read relationship between the painted pipe and the text.
It's the first New Yorker cartoon.
Is it? Okay, I see what you did there. I don't like it.
Yeah, but it kind of is.
I also think the New Yorker had probably been published for a while with cartoons by the time Magritte painted that.
Maybe.
That's like middle of the 20th century right there.
Oh, well, certainly.
I was just saying there are lots of ways that particular sentence could be read. In particular, the art. Are you talking about that art over there or the art that you are reading right now?
I mean, I've definitely also sort of smugly thought, like, yeah, who gives a shit? Like, like what if people don't like it? I'm like, oh, they don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having fun making it, so there.
Yep.
And there's other text outside of that combines with the words in that sentence?
Yeah, like with the addition of a few well-chosen other words interspersed in, it could just be like, do you like the art? Question mark. And so it'll light things up in different combinations, and then...
Is there the imperative, like the art, exclamation point?
Absolutely.
Yes! I do like to be told what to do by a sign, fortunately.
It'll give you several such instructions.
Don't read anything into that.
And like, if it ended with a period, somehow it would be more forceful than it ending with an exclamation mark to me. Like the art.
If there was a comma, like the art?
Like, oh my god, art.
Well, I'm having fun with that concept already.
And then once you've got a bunch of like LED things, then you can, turn them on in different patterns and just play with lighting effects and stuff like that. And there'll be a bunch of buttons that will be unlabeled helpfully so that people can interact with it in ways that they will have to discover for themselves.
Yes. Oh, Love confusing interaction.
Yeah, like Burning Man is an almost entirely UI free space.
And this is another one of those like sort of like risk things along with Gears is like, will the buttons work by Thursday? They claim to be, environment proof outdoor rated, but like, okay, bro, sure.
There's outdoor and then there's playa dust.
Right.
As a participant in the art, one of my favorite activities in any given art project is, does this button do anything? Did something happen? Was something meant to happen? Is this broken? Is this intentional?
Like you could put like a button on like a little podium just in the middle of nowhere that is not actually connected to anything. Maybe just have like a cable that's like conspicuously the other end is just buried and like who knows where it goes in the trench. And like you could probably like watch like a line of people develop to like,
Especially if you put things around it
Press
that
it.
it looks like it might actuate.
So what I'm thinking is you have like 3 different speakers at about 10 feet out that just make noises mostly at random, but like every 10th button press will actuate a noise.
There's just something in it that sometimes makes noise from the wind if it's facing in the right direction.
Just fill
and you
them
have
all-
a thing that looks like a poofer, but it's just like a stick with some PVC with holes drilled in it at the top, and then you just have like a bureau. Maybe with a lamp on top of it, maybe not. Maybe just because like all art in Deep Playa needs to have a bureau or a set of drawers.
All art from Deep Playa must contain at least one piece of tatty mid-century furniture from the thrift store.
Hopefully furniture from the thrift store in a gazebo. A gazebo from a thrift store, and like I don't think you can get them from that.
you're describing the like my block in San Francisco. There's just sort of a different piece of clothing or shelving unit, like just sort of at the end of it every week.
I love it so much. Give me that intersection offline. Like, it's such a good source of like already conditioned wood.
I see LPR, some major, your face appearing in rock formations like art in lost objects, no blood, bone, or body, memory clings to gifts like we never wanted.
There was one year this piece that was really simple in concept. It was like a bunch of poofers angled like vertically, and they're like, you know, on a raised platform. So the ignition point is like 7 or 8 feet off the ground. And there's just this grid of them spaced every 5 feet by 5 feet. And so like a bunch of people would gather into this place, and then an operator who's on a platform would, you know, turn them on and off, and, you know, they'd sweep it from left to right, and it, you know, they could play with the feel of it in various ways. And I had done this been in the middle of this interesting sensory experience like a couple of times. And then like the next time that I was there, I don't know if it got stuck or if this guy was just a madman, but like they just turned it on for like 5 straight seconds, and suddenly like, oh my fucking God, this is hot. Like, and I'm realizing like I'm in the middle of the field. Like, you know, you got to run like 50 feet in either way past like several more of these things to get out. And I was like, okay, that's enough engagement with the up close and personal fire art.
All right, so let me tell you a story.
I was up on this platform.
You just reminded me of this art. I loved that fucking thing. I found it like one of the first nights that it was up in Deep Playa, and it wasn't quite done yet. And then the next day, like just wandering past, I found out that it was this sea of a grid of dancing flames around me, and that was awesome. And then later that night, I found out that you could control it. And I went back with purpose the following night, and I did just like mash a bunch of the buttons down at once and hold them there and see what it was like to have like a crescendo of fire almost immediately.
Who is this guy?
And then after that, I did like a bunch of dancing, but at no point did I think about the fact that like there may have been people in that grid of fire.
who might not have been completely sober.
Yeah, had we gone out together, like, I don't think I knew you back then, but I might have. In any case, my apologies.
That's a real Playa Magic moment we just
Isn't it?
connected with over here.
Maybe. At least on a spiritual level, like there is an apology to be made to you or to someone, and I am sorry. I was not thinking about saying
on behalf of whomever was pressing those buttons, be
Yeah.
it D-Day or no.
Yeah, someone like me. I really feel like,
And to you
I understand.
and to whomever you are standing in for in the grid, D-Day presents sincere apologies.
yeah, sorry.
Apology gratefully accepted.
Great.
That sounds like one of those art projects where you know exactly what every button is going to do.
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't when I pressed them all. But pressing them all, pretty good plan.
You assume that the grid of buttons is wired in the same dimension as the way that
do.
the poofers are laid out.
I do. I would hope so.
Maybe.
Or I would hope not.
Boring,
Yeah,
conventional.
don't remember.
Would it be better to be inverted? Random?
Just random.
There was one year when somebody brought a gigantic Rubik's Cube. It was like 20 feet tall and like kind of like aimed on a point, like sort of facing down. And there were these 3 stations like around, like in a circle around this thing, like 50 feet away from it, that each had some buttons that were like unlabeled. And like the radius of this circle was wide. So like the 3 little work control stations were far apart. Like you could shout at each other or something. But it was also unlabeled and unhelpful. So actually figuring out how, like you would definitely be doing specific changes to the Rubik's Cube, but exactly what sort of transforms each.
And like you were lighting up different parts of the sides, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a gigantic cube that had 3 by 3 grid of smaller light up LED cubes on each face.
I did that for a while, and then I realized that like I hated it, and I hated myself, and so I stopped because I was at Burning Man, and I didn't care what cool thing was going to happen.
I've never been able to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Right? Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that I remembered during, and I was just like, wait, like I can't do this. But I've also wasted like 20 minutes, and I'm very angry. I can just walk away into the desert.
That right there, that's effective art.
Good trip or trap.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a sucker for anything that lights up and has buttons.
I already told you about my masturbation plans. I could easily jack off with one hand and eat Shell's pistachios with the other. Just saying.
That's complicated.
Man, if
I'm
we
a
had like
multitasker,
a
baby.
half hour more of content, we would have ended the episode right there. So, Ranger Firefly, I would be remiss if I didn't ask if that nickname had anything to do with the show Firefly.
I get that a lot, and it's not an unfair question. That was not specifically what I was thinking of. I was actually thinking of like the lightning bugs, like you see on the East Coast. But I do really like the show, so I'll own that interpretation as well.
Legit. Just checking. We're doing a very futuristic Wild West thing out there on Playa, and you are wearing tan.
Right.
That is one of my top most problematic faves. That's such a problem.
Mine is Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, Cabin in the Woods is great. I don't even think it's problematic.
Well, I mean, he's a douchebag.
It has the problem has nothing to do with Joss Whedon's douchebagginess. It has to do with the fact that it's Confederate apologia.
It's apologia, not apologia.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Fuck.
Well, everybody learned something today on Accuracy Theory.
Yeah. Today we learned what brown coats are all about.
So what's the hardest time you've had on Playa? What's your real Playa bottom?
I mean, I got dumped on the playa. That's pretty bad.
Ouch.
That sucks.
Is it a long or a short relationship that ended?
It was about a year.
So not an enormous like long term, but not a fling.
Exactly.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah. And, in hindsight, it was probably heading that direction and like probably the right thing to have happened. It just sort of, that week would not be the week that I would have chosen to process that, especially when you're camping together.
Ooh. Did you get hit with it early in the week? Was that your entire event?
Well, this was part of that whole second year. Like was a slow motion train wreck of many different things all sort of going wrong.
Multivariable.
Did you drive home together?
No, we
Good. That's too much.
that would be a lot.
Had you had any inkling? I mean, you say in retrospect you see it coming, but did it catch you off guard?
I don't know who said the quote, but there's that quote of things got bad, gradually and then suddenly all at once. Mm-hmm. And kind of like that. Like, things were gradually like feeling, like this was not right, but couldn't put your finger on why. And then sort of all at once realize, oh yeah, you're right. It's just not right. Fuck. Well, here we are.
Did you have like separate sleeping arrangements, or were you sharing a tent for the week?
No, we were in the same like hexayurt for the week. In hindsight now, like with a huge amount of time behind, I'm like, yeah, that was a weird one. But that was non-optimal. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you can only plan for so many contingencies. I wouldn't recommend bringing an extra tent just in case, because you tend to not have too many tents just hanging around.
I mean, that depends on the size of your camp.
I guess
you got enough people in your camp. It might be smart to bring a breakup tent.
That's fair. I mean,
or even just a cooling off tent. Tents are cheap.
I mean, also again, in hindsight, could have just slept in the camp's dome or whatever if I wanted to, but
clearly it wasn't that discomforting that you think about how to make your exit.
Yeah, no, it's not. This was not one of those scenarios where you like need to leave the playa in the next 4 hours, like, or anything like that.
So it was a 1-year relationship that ended on playa. Does that mean it started in and around on playa first year?
No, I think we met at a Halloween party. Mm. So like about a year,
Close enough for government work.
Yeah.
What's something that really surprised you at Burning Man?
I mean, besides like everything, I mean, I feel like you get surprised every 10 minutes if you just open your eyes.
It is like, it's like a low level constant there. There's a little bit of surprise.
Yeah. I mean,
but then there's also you get conditioned to that surprise, and that sets you up for the big surprises.
I think the big surprise is just how many ways different people approach it. Because there are the sort of standard, like, I'm going to a big rave, I'm going to a big art thing, I'm going to get drunk, I'm going to have a lot of sex this week. And like, you can name the 10 sort of archetypes of how one spends their time there. And like 1 year, like I camped with a guy who every day around sunset-ish would walk out sort of in the direction of the airport, which is where you could pick up cell signal, to like download a bunch of blog posts. And then would spend like 2 hours like sitting in the camp's like dome or whatever in that evening, just like absorbing his blog content that he really wanted. And was that was one of those things that he needed for the day. And like, you know what? Like, it's not how I would like invest my time there, but like, fuck it. It's his week. I met other people, who are there to like be like pro photographer mode version of themselves or whatever. And, that always surprises me just because like cameras are super expensive and dust destroys everything.
You should really lean into taking photos that you don't own.
Or just buy one of those like really like the little $50 like compacts are actually really good these days.
The difference between the photos I'm taking now with like my 2 or 3 generation old cell phone and the photos I took in my first couple of burns with the most expensive camera I could afford, a night and day. Like, my crappy old cell phone was so much better than my APS photos.
Even like the fancy waterproof Olympus that I have, like, I don't fucking use it.
Nah.
Like, I don't want to stop and take my camera out and point it at things on playa anymore. Like, I want to do cool stuff on playa. There's photos everywhere about what's happening at Burning Man. Like, fucking look at them, I guess.
A thing that does surprise me is like, on sort of the first, like, I mentioned like the guy would like bring his smartphone out to like, grab onto the 2G signal coming from Gerlach for, 20 minutes of data exchange. The thing that I find surprising now is how many people are walking around with their cell phone all the time as if it's an ordinary like city street. And there is enough camps with Wi-Fi backhauls and all sorts of stuff that like you can actually maintain some reasonable element of connectivity. And like I've always as soon as I get there, my phone goes into like a Ziploc bag that gets buried in the car so it doesn't get exposed to dust, and I don't get exposed to the phone for the week. And
lock it in my car with my keys.
And That was another fun Ranger story. I definitely had somebody in my camp lock their keys in their car, and
Oh no.
yeah, one of the police officers there was like looking at this, and he was like, "Well, good news is a BMW is a really hard car to steal. The bad news is, in your situation, this is problematic for extricating your keys." And then some ranger showed up with like 19 weird homemade tools and somehow popped this door open.
Oh, yeah. You just have to know where the thing that needs to be tugged or shifted is.
That's what she said.
Yes, it is.
Many men can't find the place that needs to be tugged or shifted. So, it's okay to use tools.
Agreed. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, back to the
What
thing
a
that's
sex-positive BMW this is.
Anyway, yeah, like the fact that there are like apps now for your burn is like a weird thing. And like on the one hand, I can see the pros because like there's all sorts of art that you don't wind up seeing, and maybe you'd see more art if you had this thing to help sort of guide you around or give you like checklists or whatever. But on the other hand, like I don't know, I just enjoyed the idea that like you just have to hoof it places, and like if somebody needs to know something, you better like send a runner with a message, and and that scavenger hunt works or it doesn't, right? As opposed to the take it for granted, always connectivity version of the world that we now take for granted.
That's a complicated question that I'm like highly ambivalent on. I love the immediacy that the disconnection from the ubiquitous connected world provides, but I'm also I also like the idea that you could potentially connect with people in a more deliberate way. I've had a ton of failures to meet with people on Playa that I would have really liked to spend some Playa time with. And I don't know that the ability to schedule and coordinate necessarily is anti-immediate.
See, I think it is. Because then like you have this agenda, and if somebody were to approach you with a cool experience, you'd be like, "Oh no, I'm sorry. I gotta go to the place at the time of the thing."
Like I also feel that like I'm despite the fact that we published a long interview with her, I'm still pretty ambivalent about
Rockstar Librarian.
Rockstar Librarian. I poo-poo the idea of doing too much in the way of scheduled stuff and expecting anything out of your burn. But I don't hate the idea that I could actually find somebody I wanted to find using a piece of tech. I mean, we're not a Luddite event.
No, and
We're a high-tech event.
and I've got a radio like effectively tattooed onto my arm. So who
And
might as
I
well?
have bought walkie-talkies on several occasions. Like every time they open a new band, I'm like, oh, let's see if that band works. It never works. Like consumer walkie-talkies are worthless out there, but I wish they weren't. I have always wished I had a way to actually find somebody if I wanted to.
If you're both ham licensed, you can use the repeater on the mountain, and that works. But
And if we both learn smoke signal,
you don't even have to learn the Morse code anymore. But otherwise, you're stuck with an antenna at 5 feet off the ground and a ton of metal tubing between you and the other person with an antenna 5 feet off the ground. It's just not going to happen.
I've actually gotten pretty good results with the GSM radios. They're just the channels are just garbage. They're way overoccupied.
And then that's the other part of it.
Well, everyone also heard about that new band.
Yeah.
They have the same Google feed, too.
No, they don't. Mine is special.
Yeah, they can't possibly be middle-aged burners.
Shut up. I'm still 20.
Yes, we're very young, but also cool.
I definitely had an experience at a recent burn. It was either 2019 or 2018 where it's 2 a.m. and I'm dancing at some party being thrown by an art car that is, got, smoke machine effect coming out the one side and like lasers all over, making little sparkly patterns, and everything is interestingly lit. And I'm like just kind of looking around as I'm like, bopping up and down in place, doing the like sort of Peanuts dance that I can do. And I'm thinking, man, everybody here looks so cool, and everybody's so sexy, and they're all so young, and like this is like something out of a movie. And I'm like, yeah, they're all so young. I need to go to bed. Like at some point, I stopped being a 25-year-old burner, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
As I have attended more and more, I have come to understand that Burning Man is for the old. We see the young people on the dance floor and in the photos, but they're not the ones putting up the domes. They're certainly not the ones volunteering for most of those shifts. It's retirees, baby.
Or making and bringing a lot of the art.
Yeah, not a lot of expendable money in the young.
God bless our elders. They make it happen. And then they die and leave us their stuff.
Well, if they're not boomers, they do.
Nobody wants a trailer full of, these are your grandfather's playa encrusted.
Yeah, but they're going to get them.
Speak for yourself.
So thank you, Firefly, for your service to the community.
God, I love Rangers.
I know, right?
Thank you, Rangers. You guys are incredible.
You do the work that we are incapable of doing.
You may be like the best thing that has come out of Burning Man. Just social, culturally speaking.
Remember, listeners, somewhere out there is a sticker on a car, and that sticker reads, "Do your civic duty. Fuck a ranger."
Oh, yeah. Like consensually, like very mutually and consensually. But like if like competent people get you horny or khaki gets you horny or just like nice calves from walking around all the time, consider fucking a ranger.
And, like a postal worker, probably.
Postal workers don't need any more ass.
Yeah. And that's what porn tells me.
Man,
Postal
those folks go from
workers
camp
pull.
to camp. Just giving out gifts. You think they aren't swimming in it? Come on.
Oh, I was talking about U.S. postal workers. Yeah, but them too.
Oh, that I don't know. Accuracy Third is produced by Accuracy Third, which is the three voices you've been listening to sitting around a table in a tough shed in Oakland. If you would like to sit around this table in a tough shed in Oakland and tell us about that time you went to Burning Man or Soak or Flipside or Nowhere or Japan Burn.
Please tell us about Japan Burn.
Yeah. Come on in. Hit us up on our email account, accuracy3rd, all spelled out, at
Invite us to your
gmail.com.
regionals. We'll show up to one eventually. Pay for our flights to Japan. We will go to Japan Burn.
Guaranteed. If you
I ain't fancy. I will fly first class to Japan.
anybody who wants to fly us to their regional, we'll just do that.
If we're regional is like in Santa Cruz, you can just toss us in the back of a van.
We're scumbags like that. We're portable.
And if you can't make it all the way to sunny Oakland, California, you can call in. We have the skills. We have the abilities. We'd love to hear from you. We like your stories.
We do.
You don't have to have them prepared. It would be lovely if you did. But we can just hang out.
We'll interview them out of you. I mean, it's easier when we can have you here look you in the eye and get you drunk and stoned, but we can trust you to get as drunk and stoned as you need to at home. Maybe
Yeah.
you'll feel safer and more comfortable.
And sober people, also welcome on the podcast.
We have fizzy water plus a machine that turns regular water into fizzy water.
Coffee.
There is no
We can
no
turn coffee into
necessity
fizzy
to
coffee.
be intoxicated on this podcast. It's just friendly offer and an offer to join us.
The point is, if you want a homemade carbonated Arnold Palmer, we can do that for you.
Join us.
The music in this episode is by a little band from England called Me Rex.
Me, Rex. I'm not from England.
Set you up right there for that.
I'm from Kansas.
And if you liked their music, you should go find them on Bandcamp. They were kind enough to donate the tracks from their new EP to us to use as soundbed, and they're great.
This is going to come out after Burning Man?
Nope.
Oh. Well,
This comes out in like a week and a half.
If you're coming to Playa this year...
This year being 2022.
Oh, yeah, we got to label this shit.
God knows that there isn't going to be a Burning Man in 2023.
If you're joining us on Playa for 2022, you should consider coming and meeting us at our listener appreciation party in Center Camp in our home turf on Wednesday.
On Wednesday at 2 p.m.
At 2 p.m., we will be providing some drinks and stuff, but please bring stuff.
Yeah, we'll have some bottles. Bring your own cup. There will also be a grip of Redditors there because it's the Reddit meetup. So if you're into upboating and downboating things.
Honestly, just for a second, if you guys are burners and haven't checked out the Burning Man subreddit, especially right now, pre-burn, it's on fire. People are telling really interesting, funny stories. One of these threads I just got lost in today because I'm just thinking about Burning Man nonstop was like a bunch of camps posting what their rules are. And like how to be like, here's what our theme camp says the rules are. And it's funny and it's interesting. And there's a lot of people making fun jokes on it. And there's a lot of useful information. And it just reminds me of all of the structures and rules that I've had in camps over the years. It's a blast.
It is a pretty cool resource. It's not anywhere near as shitty as the Burning Man group on Facebook, but no lack of snark there.
What I hear is that nobody gets in trouble on Reddit like they get in trouble on Facebook.
No.
Is that true?
I mean, you can get banned. It's just that easy. Like, all it takes is you being a certain kind of shitty, and the mods will throw you off.
Yeah, that's
I never upset the mods.
Reddit is moderated by the community, not by the company.
Yeah. So there's definitely, oh man, you will run into some like strange hard libertarians. Like, you will run into the fringe of Burning Man.
Oh, yeah.
On the Burning Man subreddit. We also learned a lot of great advice about like how to add extra shade to your carport and like what to do when you have a like newbie meltdown and need to like leave Playa. Oh man, there's such a series of good stories about newbie meltdowns. Not a threat, guys. Everyone melts down. It's just newbie meltdown. Sometimes that's the worst meltdown you've had in your life thus far.
We should ask Reddit to come on the podcast so they can tell us their stories.
Reddit is like too many people to like fit in this.
We should steal stories from Reddit and read them.
Oh, do you want to do that like YouTube thing where you just read Reddit stories?
I don't know. You can read me shit from Reddit since I don't Reddit.
I used to promote us a bit on Reddit, but
People were like, fuck you, narc.
I created the Burning Man subreddit years and years ago just because I happened to be an early Redditor. And
Humble brag.
It is the humblest of brags. Like, it was all the effort of going like, there's no R Burning Man. Guess there is now. I never moderated it or anything. I was
online.
I was online. But I think it feels weird to have the moderator thing on my posts when I post about our podcast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, right? So I don't. Or I do minimally.
Do you do Burning Man Redditing? Would you like to post Rex's posts for him so he doesn't feel weird about promoting our fucking podcast we spend so much time putting into? Please reach out to us at accuracy3rd@gmail.com.
But for seriously, if you really want to support us, you can always give us money. It's really appreciated. We put a lot of money into this podcast, and
I've put almost 10 grand into my teeth this year.
Yeah.
10 grand, and I have good dental insurance.
We live in the Bay Area. It's very, very hard to live where we live. But if you don't have money to give or simply do not want to, but still want to like help us out, send us to your Burning Man like camp. Send us to people you know that might be interested in it.
You know someone who tells stories and like never stops telling stories. Have them tell us their stories.
Exactly.
You've heard them.
Mm-hmm.
And even more than that, come talk to us. We want to hear from you. Like, it's nice. We want to meet the people that listen to our podcast and the people that have all these experiences out on Playa. So come in and talk to us, because that's actually the most supportive thing you can do. I mean, you could give us a lot of money. That's also supportive. But
yeah,
and buy us plane tickets to your regional.
Here's how the tiers of support go. Like be on Patreon. That's cool. That's
amazing.
That's great. Come put your stories on our podcast. That's a step up. Be part of the podcast. Volunteer your time doing things that we might not know how to do, like promote our podcast
Search
effectively,
engine optimization,
or recording podcasts where you are, which is not where we are. That's cool too. That's like really pitching in. That's a step above.
Oh, yeah. We accept, like, you want to make something for the podcast? Let us know.
We will tell you what audio equipment you should buy.
A step above that, fly us out to your regional.
Wealthy people only. Please don't sacrifice anything for yourself personally. For
If
us
you
or your
run an arts or humanities foundation, what the fuck are you doing? Accuracy3rd@gmail.com.
Yeah, we have totally like stepped into like wealthy plus institutional tiers here. And so the tier above fly us out to your regional is donate an enormous chunk of money so that we can quit our jobs and do this forever.
We will make you a podcast that isn't this podcast.
That's pretty cool.
For honest to goodness money.
And then, so that is like A tier. And then S tier, bring us mescaline.
Oh, wow. That's straightforward. We should probably not keep very much of that.
It's a running joke.
Yeah, we've been putting that in. Have you not?
We've been begging for
us?
mescaline for like a month now.
Yeah.
A month of podcasts.
Guys, we're going to get mescaline.
No, we probably won't. We never have. No one does.
Would be incredibly shocked.
Listeners, if you really want to shock the boys.
No, like legit. Back in the day when you could buy drugs criminally off the internet,
Like Carlos Castaneda times.
and you could buy like any drug criminally off the internet. The one drug you still couldn't buy was mescaline. There was like 2 guys in Germany that were selling it, and a dose would have cost like $300.
Are you saying we don't know dudes from Germany? We have no dudes from Germany. Listen,
We just interviewed Ben from Germany.
He's not from
not
Germany.
from
He
Germany.
In Germany.
He was
Germany.
in the UK.
It's like talking about Slim.
I don't know.
life in the dark of this party, yeah. I will be the life in the dark of this party, yeah. I will be the life in the dark of this party, yeah. I will be the life in the dark of this party, yeah. Like when it's bright and cold, biting the dirt of a bright burning autumn. Oh. Celebration of things gone before their time and all the difficult, unlovable things the light eventually finds.
I often say that my packing list spreadsheet is my art for Burning Man. I've actually given copies of this to several friends who are like, "Oh, I'm going to Burning Man for the first time. What should I bring?" And I'm like, "Hang on, I've got a list for you."
I want to +1 that because that is such an important contribution. There are so many non-type A's in the Burning Man community, like me, and people who sort and organize and optimize as a habit and as a gift are a blessing too.
I'm just convinced I'm going to forget stuff, and so I neurotically have to write it all down. Like there was one year I actually forgot my sleeping bag. Like
I didn't bring pants one year, and I didn't bring a jacket another year. Like
The year of you with no pants was just something else.
the year without sleeves wasn't great either.
Mercifully, the year without a sleeping bag was like one of the ones with like the warm nights. And so I was like, well, let's see. I've got a sheet and I've got a towel. This will work.
Most years, that's
Yeah, it might.
especially if you've got a sleeping partner.
Yeah, maybe not that year, but these days I do. My wife and I actually got engaged at Burning Man in 2019.
Aw.
After knowing her for how long?
2 years.
Good.
Yeah.
Fine.
You know what they say: never marry anybody that you fall in love with on MDMA for at least 2 months.
I didn't know people said that, but like that would have been helpful in my 20s and early 30s. Look, man, like an annulment means it didn't happen. Take that shit all the way back.